Hi, I'm August, and welcome to August Does Everything. In this particular episode, we're doing Coffee and Cthulhu Q&A, question 2. Okay, so let's look at question 2, jump right in. Are the cults that worship the old ones capable of using magic? If so, what kind? Okay, so let's establish some things first here. We're really focusing on like the core stories of the Cthulhu mythos, which is mostly Lovecraft. There's some other authors that came before and came after that are really good. And there's just a lot of material out there, but mostly as pertaining to this question, it's mostly Lovecraft, maybe Howard, who wrote Conan, Robert E. Howard, and August Derleth is very controversial when it comes to Lovecraftian or cosmic horror, because some people don't want to include him. Other people think only Lovecraft. I'm pretty open to this. I haven't read all of Derleth's stuff, but from what I can tell you, he didn't do too much. And then there's Dunsany, who heavily influenced Lovecraft, but didn't really write any cosmic horror per se. And Clark Ashton Smith, who was who corresponded with Lovecraft during their writing careers. And Smith wrote a lot of dark fantasy, which influenced Lovecraft. Okay, so it really depends on the writer, and I like to include games when we're talking about Lovecraft. Specifically, Sandy Peterson's Call of the Cthulhu role-playing game, which is an excellent game. Okay, so Lovecraft explained magic or witchcraft as a sort of hyperdimensional geometry or that allowed for interdimensional magic. So essentially anybody that was doing magic in his world was basically doing like a sort of geometry. I didn't know witches were good at math, but hey, it's different. It's more of a science fiction aspect. So that's what the appeal of Lovecraft was at the time when a lot of people were writing, fantasy and magic. He came out from a totally different place. But in 1932, Dreams of the Witch House was published. And later, I think it was in the 90s, Delta Green released a game, Delta Green was a modern Cthulhu game that was released, and they incorporated this magic system into their gaming world, which is, like I said, it's kind of a hyperdimensional or interdimensional geometric type of magic. So it's more pseudoscience than black magic. Now, with Lovecraftian magic, two of the biggest tropes are going to be dimensional gates and ancient and eldritch tomes of great lore, or tomes of, lore. And a lot of times in the games or in some of the more recent fiction, a necromancer or sorcerer will have a book that they'll be able to summon demons through dimensional gates. That's a big part of cosmic horror. And the standout ancient tome, of course, is the Necronomicon, but there's a lot of other really cool, great tomes. There's like a whole list online you can find. That's another episode. The Book of Ibon, the Narcotic Manuscripts comes to mind. There's others. There's a whole list of just really good stuff, and some of them are illustrated. Like the Book of Ibon has some really cool art. It's worth checking out. But sorcery and necromancy are the order of the day with with Lovecraftian campaigns and Lovecraftian fiction. It's not like Dungeons and Dragons where you have like a sort of a paramilitary team, exploring dungeons or whatever, and the wizard or the mage launches fireballs. It's more summoning, bringing eldritch abominations through dimensional gates by way of a eldritch tome of great lore. So, and also, if in case you haven't noticed, arcane and eldritch are two words that constantly come up in Lovecraftian fiction, because he used very purple prose to describe things in his stories. So there's a lot of there's a bit of geometry in real life Hermetic magic, Western, based, going back to Egypt, like the Kabbalah and whatnot. For example, you have a circle of protection and a triangle of manifestation, but beyond that, not too much geometry. And of course, Pythagoras had a mystic. He was very into mysticism, and he had a mystic approach to math, but that's about as far as it goes. I think Lovecraft just tapped into something and ran with it. Like in the actual Cult of Cthulhu story, there's no overt magic, and in his stories, it's very downplayed, and usually it's alien. So yeah, you could say they are capable of using magic in answer to the query, and it would be a type of hyperdimensional, interdimensional, geometric kind of magic where you can create holes and either travel to another dimension or travel through time. So that would be the extent of it, and that's what the focus of Lovecraftian or cosmic horror is. All right, subscribe. August out. See you next time.